All right, welcome to part 4 of this module, Know Thyself. So, quickly, we stopped at gifts. I ended by saying gifts can vary widely and are not always learned or acquired through practice, that they often come naturally and can set individuals apart. I even gave you a story of how I can say that English or writing or English, let's just say English comes to me naturally, so I would consider English as a gift for me, and that mathematics was something I learned over time to the point where I was able to get an A in my junior WAEC, and I think I got an A also in my senior WAEC, I don't remember. So, but I scored well in this national West African exam. So, and that was because the English part was because it came naturally to me. The mathematics part was because I learned it and practice over time, and I had a mentor over me helping me to do really well in it, right? So you can also take a good look for a quiet place and just think or ask questions from people. What do you think I do naturally without stress, or without having to learn it, or without having to go to a school for it? Those are gifts. Those are where you should focus on, because just like we said, what God has gifted you with will be needed to fulfill your calling, and what He has called you to do will require your giftings. If that makes sense, let's go on. Let's keep this going. So now, gifts include teaching. People have the natural gifts to teach. I don't remember going to any teaching school, or public speaking school. I didn't go to any one of them. There's even this Toastmasters club that, people were saying, oh, since you're interested in public speaking, why don't you go for Toastmasters? I have no problem with going for Toastmasters. If I have the chance, I'll probably do that. But up until as I'm teaching you right now, I haven't been to any formal teaching school, or any teaching program whatsoever. So it's a gift. So teaching, then prophecy. I know there are schools of prophecy, which is good, because some people might not know how. If you look at the story between Eli and Samuel, you find out that God was calling Samuel to the office of a prophet, but he was struggling with it. Eli had to tell him that, next time you hear a voice thinking that it's me, answer like this. So I believe in prophetic schools. From that excerpt, I believe that, a senior prophet can put you through, make things faster, and prophecy for me, I wouldn't say I have mentors as prophets. I would say I moved with prophets. I have prophetic mentors. I have mentors over me who have the gift of prophecy. I didn't go to any training to be a prophet, but when the time came, like I said in part 3, when the time came for that God wanted to speak through me over Nigeria, over a new Nigeria, over the blueprint, the only way He could say it to me was to inspire my spirit man, so that I could also broadcast it to you listening or watching this video right now. So prophecy also came to me as a gift. Then healing, I don't believe I have the healing gift anyway. So some people do. Some people can lay hands on you and you are healed, and some people you can pray for 30 years to have the healing gift and it won't come. That's what I'm trying to talk about. It wouldn't come, right? So then there is wisdom. So there is wisdom. Some people just operate the gift of wisdom naturally. I remember one of my prophetic mentors was praying over me and said, you have the spirit of wisdom. I was wondering, what does that even mean? Wisdom just means the ability, you gather knowledge, either there's knowledge you get by insight. That means you download it from the spirit realm. There's knowledge you gather from reading books or watching a movie. For me, my wife will always say that when I'm watching a movie, like Prison Break, for example. In fact, the first time I told my wife, let's watch Prison Break on Netflix, she was like, I don't want to have anything to do with prisons. I don't want to watch a movie that talks about prison. I said, well, that's not the reason why I'm watching it. I'm watching Prison Break because I want to learn from seeing how someone like Michael Scofield thinks. How can you break out of a jail, a US jail, a maximum prison? His thought process, I just wanted to learn from it. So the right application of knowledge is wisdom. If you look at Michael Scofield was a structurer. For those who have not watched Prison Break, please, maybe you should go watch it. Watch a season, But for those who have watched it, which I think a lot of people did, if you look at Michael Scofield was a structural engineer. Big deal. There's no big deal about that. But that he gathered knowledge in structural engineering. Big deal. But when he became dangerous is when he was able to rightly apply that knowledge in breaking out his brother and a few others from prison. That's wisdom. So you might have, imagine I mentioned, okay, that was a Young Folks Ask. So please go read, go watch a Young Folks Ask series on YouTube that I made. I was talking about how, an electrical friend of mine back in OAU, Obafemi Awolowo University, was a first class material in the making. Like it was, I don't know whether I eventually graduated with the first class, but then he was in his final year, and I think he was in a first class or a high 2-1, and he could not fix the electrical problem in our flat. Then we're staying off campus, and I wondered why he couldn't do that. Whereas a roadside electrician, was able to come and fix the electrical problem in the house. So we could say that while my electrical friend had the knowledge, the roadside guy had the wisdom. He was able to apply electrical knowledge to fix my electrical problem. So when you think about wisdom, it's not one highfalutin thing. It's just rightly applying a body of knowledge you have, whether through insight, whether through practice, whether through reading, whether through experience, to solve a problem. Pharaoh had a dream, and he saw 7 lean cows and 7 fat cows, or 7 fat cows and 7 lean cows, and the 7 lean cows were eating up the 7 fat cows. Knowledge. To the king, that was useless knowledge. I don't know why I'm going this direction. That was not the plan. That was useless knowledge to the king, and that was why he called for help. Who was going to be able to interpret this dream for me? And Joseph was brought up from the prison, and he interpreted the 7 fat cows to mean 7 years of abundance. He interpreted the 7 lean cows to mean 7 years of famine. But that was not enough. Okay, you are still interpreting this knowledge. Big deal. But he went a step further, and he entered into the realm of wisdom and was able to tell them that during the 7 years of plenty, you need to store and preserve for the 7 years of scarcity or famine. Now that's wisdom. No big deal. Do you know what I'm saying? I looked at Daniel 2. That's why some people, if you need to go watch the 7 days prophetic broadcast, and you understand what I'm saying. I looked at Daniel 2. Everybody reads Daniel 2 every day. If you go and read it, it doesn't make any sense for Nigeria. But one day, God took me to Daniel 2. I'm reading Daniel 2. I'm reading the story of the golden statue. They are talking about Medes and Persians and whatever. But I'm looking at the golden statue, and by inspiration I was able to interpret it for the Nigerian situation, and by wisdom I was able to say that, okay, fine, we are in the very last, this current administration, I'm talking 2024, this current administration is the last in the democratic era. How do you know that? It's by wisdom. It's a gift. So don't say, how can I check it and know these things? I've been reading Daniel 2 for gazillion years. I never was able to interpret this for the Nigerian situation at this time. There's no big deal about it. This is just a gift. Recall that the same Daniel, to interpret that same dream, because Nebuchadnezzar said that he was going to kill all the magicians and sorcerers and soothsayers and all the wise men if they didn't tell him both the dream and the interpretation. Now, nobody was able to interpret it, but Daniel prayed to God, and God gave him both the interpretation and the wisdom. So, and he was able to come and he was able to tell the king the dream and the interpretation. That's wisdom. That's a gift. So then we have faith. Some people are just able to do things at they have this extraordinary level of faith that is beyond the normal. So I believe that every Christian, I'm talking to Christians now, every Christian has a level of faith. In fact, everybody has a level of faith. Christian, Muslim, atheist, whatever. How do I know that? For every time you can enter a plane that you know that this thing is so heavy, maybe as heavy as a building. If you've entered a jumbo, the plane I entered from, okay, 2 types of planes now. The plane I entered an Ethiopian airline from Lagos to Addis Ababa. That was in 2019, if I'm correct. Whoa, that plane was so big. But if you think that one is big, I entered another plane that was Qatar Airways from Lagos to Qatar. That was even bigger. If you think that was big, my mom told me that when we're going to Japan in 84, they gave back to me 84 December. By 85 March, we were on our way to Japan. My dad was with NNPC, and then they were part of the team that created the new, that rebuilt the old refinery or created a new refinery, whatever. So they went to Japan for 3 years, and they allowed them to come with their families because they were staying for so long in Japan. My mom recalled that the plane, I think that was also the first time she was going to be entering a plane. That was 85, because I was born 85 March. That was the first time she was going to enter a plane. And imagine the first plane she entered from Lagos to wherever. Japan was a 3-day journey, by the way. But one of the planes she entered, she said it was a jumbo plane. I'm talking 84. I'm talking 24 years now. My age now. I'm talking 40 years ago. Japan, the trip to Japan, they entered an airline that was a jumbo. That imagine a plane that has upstairs. You climb. There's they have a ground floor. Then you will climb I've not entered that since then. And when I entered that, I was barely 3 months, so I don't recall. But she recalls. So you enter it. There's a ground floor. Then you climb the stairs to the first floor. A plane. So if you can enter a plane that is as heavy as a house, and the thing is going at top speed to lift off the air, and you believe that it will lift up, and it's in the air for, my trip from Lagos to Addis Ababa took about 4-5 hours, and then my trip from Lagos to Qatar took maybe 7-8 hours. I don't recall, 7-8 hours. So you believe that this thing that is as heavy as a house can be in the air for 7-8 hours. It will not go anywhere to refuel. You just believe that it will hang in the air and going at some crazy speed for 7-8 hours. If you believe that, you have faith. You have faith in science. So gifts include teaching, prophecy, healing, wisdom, athleticism. Look at Usain Bolt. Do you really think that Usain Bolt, yes, he practices, he follows some athletic routine that makes him a better runner, but do you really think that you can be an Usain Bolt? No, it's a gift. Musical ability, problem solving skills. They just bring a problem before you and you just have the wisdom to solve it. Problem solving requires wisdom, right? Then empathy. It's a gift when someone is going, there's a difference between empathy and sympathy. Sympathy is, your father died. God will give you, I wanted to say God will give you another one. No, that's not part of the sympathy cry. So, and then they cry with you. There are even professional criers when someone dies for you. But that's sympathy. But empathy is, you go beyond just pitying the person to try to see how you can help. So somebody just lost her husband, and you come with a bag of rice to say, okay, fine, I know this is not much, but at least this could set you off for a while. Or you put like 20,000 or 100,000 into the person's account, or squeeze it into her hand, saying that, okay, I'm sure this should set off some bills, that are accruing. That's empathy. Or that somebody is being oppressed by her husband or so, maybe abusive husband, and then you make calls and make moves to ensure that this person gets justice fast before this husband kills the wife or the wife kills the husband. That's empathy. Then it's a gift. So then resilience, the ability to keep staying on something, that this thing, I will be here. In fact, in Pidgin, in Nigerian parlance, we die here. This thing, until I see positive result, I'm not going to stop. Then there's patience. Do you know that patience is a gift? The ability to just wait until things come to you requires patience. Most people want to go after the things that they want. Then there's leadership, and God teaches us patience too. I went through a 19 months patience period. In 19 months patience period from February 2023 to August 21, about 19 months. It was a patience academy I went to. The nickname was Adulam. in some village that, I thought I would not be able to stay for even 4 hours. God took me on a journey. I would share that in the future. There are certain things that need to come to pass first, then I will share some of those. It took me on a 19 months, me, my wife, and my son, on a 19-month journey, to somewhere, some village in Nigeria, in the southwestern part. And we were there for 19 months. God taught us patience. It's a gift. It's a gift. The reason why we're able to survive and not break, in that 19 months is because God supplied the gift of patience. Then there's leadership. Some people can just naturally lead. They just know what to do, while others are just wondering, what do we do now? Oh, there's a roadblock. What do we do now? You just see some people just know how to get out of the roadblock. Then artistry, then writing, aka me, then designing, etc. So these are examples of gifts. So look out for some of these gifts, or even those that are not mentioned in these examples, and see how each of them resonates with you, and hold it tight, because God is going to use that gift in your calling. So okay, let's take this here. So let's talk about a little hint on your divine purpose. I told you in the objective that at the end of this module, you have a hint about your divine purpose. Divine purpose, divine assignment, your calling is a very broad concept that you can't know in one sitting, but you can begin to have something I call like a hint. So how do you, a hint on your divine purpose, whatever it is that your purpose must do for you. There are 4 things that give you a hint on your divine purpose, based on experience, based on research. 1, your purpose must please God. And this is a very, very broad and very sensitive topic, because you can easily ask yourself questions that show whether are you fulfilling divine purpose, or are you fulfilling this purpose for your maker. For example, I can sing. For example, I can't sing, but let's assume that I can sing. And I'm singing songs that make people, that make unmarried people think more of sex. Is that the purpose of the singing gift? I know this is very dramatic. I know this is very sensitive. This is something that most people will not touch. But let's discuss it. Come in the comment section. I have a gift to sing, and I am using that gift to sing songs that pushes people into sin. Do you think that I am fulfilling purpose with that gift? So that purpose that you say you have, if it is from God, because there's purpose from God, there's purpose from the devil. So if you have a purpose from God, how do you know that this purpose I'm serving is a purpose from God? How do I know my divine purpose? That purpose must please God, must bring pleasure to God. And can something bring pleasure to God that displeases God at the same time? No way. So whatever it is you see people doing that you even admire, you see singers in the world, you see writers in the world. There are writers that they use their writing gift. I use writing to save my friends, myself and my friends back in school. That would have pleased God, right? Versus I use writing, to teach people how to steal. I use writing to teach people, how to be criminal-minded. Or I use writing to teach people how to abandon godly family values. I mean, do you understand what I'm saying? So that's your purpose must please God. Number 2, your purpose must connect you with an audience. I have a divine purpose. I know my divine purpose. The next question is, this purpose, have you identified the audience this purpose is for? For example, look at Nelson Mandela. I'm currently reading the book Long Walk to Freedom by Nelson Mandela, and I'm really learning a lot from reading the struggles this man went through. Kai! Everybody's just shouting Nelson Mandela. I want to be Nelson Mandela, but can you stay 27 years in a prison? I want to be Nelson Mandela. Can you go to prison for your people? So Nelson Mandela had an audience. He was fighting apartheid with the special gifts that God gave him. Recall that he was a lawyer. I found out that he chose law as a profession, and that law somehow helped in the apartheid cause. You see what I'm saying? He built a law ability, an ability to defend cases And that and he definitely had the gift. Look at these gifts again. He definitely had the gift of patience, because how can someone be in the prison for 27 years and still be put together enough to be the president? So that's it. So your purpose must connect you with an audience. In the case of Nelson Mandela, it was the people of South Africa. Okay, I think in the case of Mahatma Gandhi, it was the people of India. So your what's it called? Your divine purpose must connect you with an audience. You are not here to serve the world. We say that in romantic text, that your gift should serve the world. But if it's serving a part of the world, it's already serving the world, by the way. So, and then number 3, your purpose must create value for that audience. It's not just about gathering audience and telling them Tales by Moonlight, even though Tales by Moonlight has lessons that can help them. But you need to create value for that audience. Through your special abilities, through your natural abilities, through your giftings, and through God's enablement, you have something that is going to be of value to them. Like, for example, now, the giftings of Nelson Mandela might not have any effect on the United States of America, because they were not going through apartheid. Apartheid means separate, to separate. Apartheid means I learned it from Long Walk to Freedom, the book written by autobiography of Nelson Mandela. So apartheid means separation. They separate you. They separate blacks from whites and say you can't. White cannot enter. Blacks cannot come to so white neighborhood. Blacks cannot enter so white buses or so white seats. Yada yada yada. Cannot go to so white school. Do you understand? So that was apartheid. They separated the black from some advantages and benefits that were only available to the white. So his giftings, his abilities, his special qualities was able to connect him with that audience, and it offered value to that audience, right? It offered value to that audience. And then finally, your purpose must sacrifice for that audience. I mean, the perfect example is Nelson Mandela. No wonder I'm reading his book right now. For someone to decide to go to prison, well, he didn't decide. For someone to make certain sacrifices that ended up, or make certain moves that ended up throwing him to jail for 27 years. Innocently, he didn't kill anybody, he didn't do anything that they say he did. It requires a high level of sacrifice for that audience. Who was the audience? It's the South African people. So using Nelson Mandela as an example, did his divine purpose please God? Absolutely. God does not believe in disunity, or that God believes that God is part of God's values, that we're all created equal. So there shouldn't be white domination or white supremacy over blacks, over blacks, right? So of course, what he was, the cause he was fighting pleased God. The cause he was fighting connected with an audience, which was the people of South Africa. It wasn't even the Xhosa people that he was a part of, or the Transkei people. It was the South African people. And then he was able to create value for the audience. I mean, his legal abilities, his he according to him, he and his friend Oliver created or founded the first black chambers, legal chambers in the whole of South Africa. So I mean, value for the audience, so blacks can come and find a succor or be well represented, against white oppression or whatever it is. So create value for that audience. And then finally, D, sacrifice for the audience. He went to prison for 27 years for these same people. Does that make sense? So take a look at what you think your divine purpose is now, and run it through these 4 models and see if it comes out with that burning, and then you know that that is your divine purpose. What is my divine purpose? God has called me to be a pathfinder. If you help people of Nigeria, if you help people find paths, there's a roadblock and you help them find paths, are you not going to please God? Absolutely, you're going to please God. Joseph was a pathfinder. He helped the people of Egypt navigate a looming, devastating famine. That's a pathfinder. So, do pathfinders please God? Absolutely, especially if they find a path to a good life, or a path to something better, not a path to sodomy or a path to destruction. No. So I'm a pathfinder. So and the what God has called me to do for Nigeria is to find a path for a better Nigeria, a path for a new Nigeria. All these complaints and murmuring, there's a path, there's a blueprint, there's a divine agenda for a new Nigeria. And I'm one of the pathfinders. I don't imagine that I'm the only pathfinder. I'm one of the pathfinders to bring about, that. And that's why I'm setting up and teaching you this great mentorship school or program for free. And I'm sure you're wondering, is anybody sponsoring him? Absolutely. The Holy Spirit. So please, I'm trying to use myself as an example. So yes, my purpose, my divine purpose pleases God. I want to use myself as an example so that I'm teaching you what I've already been able to determine. My purpose is to be a pathfinder, to bring, to put smiles on people's faces in Nigeria, put smiles on people who will still get to where, to put smiles on people's faces, to lay a path to freedom, a path to prosperity, a path to abundance, a path to a good life, a path to zero corruption, path to zero insecurity for a new Nigeria called Green Area. Does that please God? Absolutely. He gave the mandate. So B, this is my divine purpose. Does it connect with an audience? Absolutely. It's the people of Nigeria. By extension, the people of Africa, but predominantly the people of Nigeria. Because once Nigeria gets into that point where they can take back their true mandate as the giant of Africa, definitely every other African country will become relevant. You see, when Western guys are referring to us as a whole in Africa, they don't many of them don't differentiate and say Nigeria or Ethiopia or South Africa. They just say, are you from Africa? So when Nigeria takes up its role as the giant of Africa, you will see that they will begin to see our individual attributes and be able to identify us as a body of 50 states and not just one state called Africa, if you know what I'm saying. So yes, I'm connecting with an audience, and my audience is Nigeria, the people of Nigeria. So how am I creating value for the audience? Come on. Thank God we have the Great Mentorship School. I've done Young Folks Ask. I was able to put down, if you can see this, I was able to put down God's mandate for a new Nigeria called Green Area, end of the old and birth of the new, the end of an empire and the beginning of a kingdom. So, all of these things have been put down, to align with God's will for a new Nigeria. And then what about sacrifice for the audience? Come on now, I'm offering this to you for free. I could charge for this, but I'm doing it for free. Like I said, I went through a 19 months or a 19 months patience journey. Between between February 2023 and August 2024. It was 19 months of pain, 19 months of, have you read or watched a documentary about how when an eagle is removing its feathers one by one so that it can recreate itself? That was what happened to me for a period of 19 months in silence, in blood and sweat, to prepare me for what I'm doing today. So, and probably more sacrifices are coming along the way. So you can see how I've been able to run my own divine purpose through these 4 models. Do the same when you get to this point, and you'll be amazed. It will give you a hint about your divine purpose. Does that make sense? I believe it does. Okay, so and then we have case study. Okay, I've talked about myself, Jesus, David, Joseph, and Gbenga. These are all these case studies that you can draw from for this content. And I've done a lot. I've talked about Nelson Mandela, I've talked about myself, and that should be enough for now. Okay, so what is divine assignment? I think that's where we're going to. That means this thing is going to have part 5. Oh wow. So that's where we're going to start next. Or maybe I will give you more examples. Maybe I will treat the case studies of, talk about Jesus, talk about David, talk about Joseph. I talked about Joseph to a level, in the next episode or in the part 5 of this series, Know Thyself. For now, if what you have learned so far means a lot to you, you got a lot of value from it, then please subscribe so that you can keep getting more of this value for free from Green Area TV. And then share this content to someone who needs to hear this, someone who is confused about their purpose, someone who is wondering, how do I determine my divine purpose? Why am I here on earth? What is my divine assignment? Yada yada yada. Share this video to them and you'll have done them a lot of good. What do I say at the end of each part? See you in Green Area, and Jesus loves you. Bye bye.